Hey everyone, I'm Clara, 23 years old, and I live in a city that's always alive, its streets humming with the rhythm of cars, voices, and footsteps. But for a long time, my own world felt small, quiet, almost like I was watching life happen around me rather than living it. Today, I'm sharing a story that reshaped me, a story about a day that broke my heart into pieces and a journey that taught me how to put myself back together. It's about a day I waited and waited and waited, only to learn a truth so profound it's now part of my core. Thank you for being here, for listening to something so raw and personal. It means more than you know. Let's dive in. I spend my days in a little flower shop, a cozy nook tucked between a bustling cafe and a dusty bookstore on a busy street. The shop is my sanctuary, a place where the air is heavy with the sweet perfume of roses, the crisp freshness of lilies, and the earthy tang of green leaves. Every morning, I turn the key in the lock, push open the door, and step into a world of color and fragrance that feels like a warm embrace. The wooden floor creaks softly, the shelves brim with blooms, and sunlight streams through the front window, painting the petals in a soft glow. I love arranging bouquets, each one a tiny story. Roses for a nervous proposal, daisies for a child's birthday, lilies for someone seeking forgiveness. To me, love has always felt like the rarest flower in the shop, a perfect bloom you cradle, carefully terrified it might bruise or fade. It's beautiful, fragile, and something you protect with everything you have. I grew up with just my mom in a modest apartment a few blocks from the shop, a place with worn furniture, a leaky faucet, and a warmth that came from her presence. My dad passed away when I was 6, leaving a quiet void in our home, a space where his laughter used to live. I can still picture his smile, broad and warm, and hear his deep, rumbling laugh. But those memories are faded now, like an old photograph left in the sun. Mom worked tirelessly, juggling jobs as a seamstress and a cleaner, her hands always moving, her face often tired but kind. She's a quiet woman, like me. But her strength is a silent force, like the roots of a tree that hold firm no matter the storm. Over cups of tea at our kitchen table, she'd share her wisdom, her voice soft but steady. Hearts break easily. "Clara," she'd say, her eyes meeting mine. "Be kind, be honest, and be careful with yours." I'd nod, sipping my tea, but back then I didn't truly understand. I thought love was like the stories in my novels. Simple, sweeping, always ending in joy. Now I know it's far more complex, far more fragile. Before everything changed, my life was a gentle rhythm, a predictable dance I knew by heart. I'd wake at dawn, pull on a cozy sweater, and walk to the flower shop, the city stirring around me, street vendors setting up carts, buses rumbling past, the air crisp with the promise of a new day. At the shop, I'd spend my days trimming stems, tying ribbons, and chatting with customers, their stories weaving into mine. There was the old man who bought carnations every week for his wife's grave, his eyes soft with memory. The nervous teenager picking roses for his first date, his hands shaking. The woman who cried as she ordered lilies for a friend's funeral, her voice breaking. Each bouquet felt like a piece of their lives, and I loved being part of it, even in a small way. After work, I'd head to my tiny apartment, a space with creaky floors, a sagging couch, and shelves overflowing with novels, romances, adventures, tales of heroines who faced the world with courage. I'd read late into the night, losing myself in their worlds, or meet my friend Maya for tea at a cafe down the street. Maya's been my best friend since we were kids, and she's everything I'm not. Bold, loud, with a laugh that turns heads and a spark that lights up any room. Her dark hair is always a mess, her eyes always gleaming with some new plan or story. She's the one who'd drag me to concerts or convince me to try spicy street food, even when I'd rather stay home with a book. Over chamomile tea, we'd talk about everything. Her latest job, my quiet days at the shop, the dreams we held close to our hearts. Those moments with her were my anchor, a reminder that I wasn't alone, even when I felt a quiet ache inside, a longing for a love that would make my heart feel full, like the couples I saw leaving the shop, their faces glowing as they carried their bouquets. Then, one rainy Tuesday, Leo walked into the flower shop, and my world tilted. He was soaked from the downpour, his dark hair curling at the edges, water dripping onto the wooden floor as he stood by the door, looking a little lost. "I need something for my mom's birthday," he said, his voice low, almost shy, his brow furrowed as he scanned the buckets of flowers. His eyes met mine, warm, brown, kind, and I felt a flutter in my chest, like something waking up. I suggested yellow tulips, their bright petals like bursts of sunlight. "Yellow means happiness," I told him, my voice softer than usual. He smiled, a real smile that lit up his face, and said, "Perfect. I'm Leo, by the way." "I'm Clara," I replied, my cheeks flushing. It was a small moment, but it felt like the air had changed, like the start of something I couldn't yet name. Leo started coming back to the shop, at first with excuses. A small plant for his apartment, a bouquet for a coworker. But soon, he'd linger just to talk, leaning against the counter as I worked, his presence filling the space with a warmth I hadn't known I was missing. We'd chat about the simplest things, the way rain made the city feel alive, our favorite colors, his was blue, mine green, the little joys of a quiet day. He worked in construction, his hands calloused from hammering nails and lifting beams, and he spoke with pride about building houses, about his dream to one day design his own, a place with wide windows and a sprawling garden. I opened up about my own dream, a vision of growing the flower shop or opening a garden cafe where people could sit among blooms, sipping coffee and feeling at peace. He listened with a focus that made me feel seen, his eyes locked on mine, his smile gentle. "Clara," he said one day, "you have this way with living things, flowers, people. That cafe would be magical because of you." My heart swelled, a warmth spreading through me, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Our connection grew beyond the shop's wooden counter. After work, we'd walk through the park near my apartment, a green oasis in the city's chaos, where an old oak tree stood tall by the river. We'd sit on a bench under its branches, watching the water ripple and the city lights flicker to life, talking about our childhoods, our fears, our hopes. Leo told me about his mom, who grew roses in her backyard, and his younger brother, who dreamed of playing guitar in a band. I shared stories of my mom's quiet strength, my dad's faded laugh, my love for books that made the world feel bigger. One evening, as we walked home, he took my hand, his fingers warm and strong, calloused but gentle. It felt like the most natural thing, like our hands were made to fit together. My heart raced, and I wondered if this was the love I'd read about, the kind that makes everything brighter. 6 months after we met, we sat on that bench by the river, the air cool, the city glowing around us. Leo turned to me, his eyes serious, and said, "Clara, I know it hasn't been long, but I've fallen in love with you." The words hit me like a wave, stealing my breath. "I love you too, Leo," I whispered, my voice trembling with joy. We kissed under the stars, the oak tree above us, the river murmuring below. And in that moment, the world felt perfect, like every dream I'd ever had was coming true. The months that followed were the happiest I'd ever known. We were inseparable, our days filled with laughter, small adventures, and plans for a future together. We'd spend hours at a tiny cafe, sipping hot chocolate that warmed our hands, dreaming of a life we'd build. A little house near the park, with a garden where I could grow roses, lilies, tulips. Leo would pull out a napkin and sketch the house, his pencil moving quickly, his eyes bright with excitement. "This is where your flowers will go," he'd say, pointing to a corner of the drawing. "A whole garden, Clara, just for you." I'd smile, my heart so full it ached, believing every word, every promise. We'd walk through the park at dusk, holding hands, the oak tree a silent witness to our love. I felt seen, cherished, like I was no longer the quiet girl in the flower shop, but someone extraordinary, because that's how Leo made me feel. But 2 months ago, everything changed. Leo came to the shop one evening, his face tense, his usual warmth dimmed. He'd been offered a big construction job in a city hundreds of miles away, a project that would last 3 or 4 months. The pay was incredible, he said. Money that could jumpstart our dreams. The house, the garden, our life together. My stomach twisted at the thought of him leaving, a cold dread settling in. "It's temporary, Clara," he said, taking my hands, his eyes pleading. "I'll call you every night, text you all the time. I'll be back before you know it. Wait for me, please." I loved him, trusted him, so I nodded, my throat tight with unshed tears. "I'll wait, Leo," I promised, even as my heart sank, heavy with fear. The goodbye at the train station was unbearable. Rain fell in sheets, soaking my coat, mirroring the tears streaming down my face. Leo held me close, his jacket damp against my cheek, his arms strong around me. "I love you, Clara," he whispered. "This isn't forever. I'll be back." He kissed me, a desperate, lingering kiss, then boarded the train. I stood on the platform, my shoes wet, my hair plastered to my face, watching the train shrink to a speck, then vanish. I clung to his promise like a lifeline, telling myself 4 months would pass quickly, that our love was strong enough to bridge the distance. At first, things were okay. Leo called every night, his voice crackling through the phone, warm and familiar despite the miles. He'd tell me about the new city, the long hours on the construction site, the way he missed the flower shop smell, the way he missed me. He'd send photos, him in a hard hat, the city skyline at dusk, a tired but genuine smile just for me. Those calls were my anchor, the highlight of my days. I'd sit on my couch, phone pressed to my ear, telling him about the shop, the new bouquets I'd made, the way Maya teased me about being lovesick. We'd laugh, say, "I love you," and I'd fall asleep with his voice in my head, feeling close to him, like the distance was just a temporary inconvenience. But after 2 months, the calls changed. They grew shorter, his voice more distant, like he was somewhere else, not fully with me. Then he started missing nights, texting apologies, about late shifts or exhaustion. I'd stare at my phone, waiting for it to light up, my chest tight with worry, my fingers hovering over the screen. Texts took hours to arrive, sometimes a full day. I'd write long messages, pouring out my day, my love, my longing, and get back a single line. "Miss you too." I told myself he was busy, that construction was grueling, that his love for me hadn't changed. But a seed of doubt took root, small at first, then growing with every unanswered call, every delayed reply, a quiet voice whispering that something was wrong. One evening, I called him, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. No answer. I called, again, straight to voicemail. I texted, "Leo, is everything okay? I'm worried. Love you." Silence. A day passed, then another, then 3. My worry spiraled into fear, a cold, gripping panic that kept me awake. Was he hurt? In an accident? Sick? I called again and again, each time met with the cold beep of voicemail, a sound that felt like a door slamming shut. I didn't know his coworkers, his company's number, or anyone in that city. I felt utterly powerless, pacing my apartment, checking my phone every minute, my mind racing with terrible possibilities. Hospitals, construction site accidents, worse. I barely ate, barely slept, my world narrowing to the silent phone in my hand. On the 4th day, my phone buzzed. A text from Leo. My heart leaped, hands trembling as I opened it. One sentence. "Clara, I'm okay. Need some space. Will contact you soon." No, "I love you," no explanation, just those stark, cold words. Relief that he was alive crashed into confusion, then pain, a deep, aching hurt that settled in my chest like a stone. Space? From what? From me? From us? I texted back, my fingers clumsy. "Leo, what's going on? I was so worried. Please, call me." No reply. I waited hours, then days, checking my phone obsessively, but there was only silence, heavier and more painful than before. Now I knew he was okay. He just didn't want to talk to me. Didn't want me. A week later, another text came, short and sharp. "Meet me Friday, 3 p.m., oak tree bench in the park. Need to talk." My heart surged with a fragile, desperate hope. Maybe he'd explain. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, a moment of stress from his job. Maybe he missed me as much as I missed him, and this was his way of coming back. I replied, "Okay, Leo, I'll be there." My fingers trembling, my mind already racing. The days until Friday were torture, a relentless tug of war between hope and fear. I imagined him running to me, arms open, apologizing, saying he'd been overwhelmed but still loved me, that our dreams were still alive. Then I'd picture him cold, distant, saying he was done, that our love was over. I couldn't eat. My stomach knotted with nerves. I barely slept. My dreams filled with rain and empty benches. My days at the shop passed in a blur, my hands moving through bouquets while my mind was elsewhere, counting down the hours to Friday. Friday arrived, the sky heavy with gray clouds, the air thick with the promise of rain. I finished work early, my hands unsteady as I locked the shop's door, the familiar jingle of the bell sounding far away. I wore the blue dress Leo always loved, the one he said made my eyes shine, its soft fabric a small comfort against my nerves. I put on a little makeup, hoping to feel confident, to look like the Clara he fell in love with, not the anxious wreck I'd become. I walked to the park, my heart pounding with every step, my breath shallow. The old oak tree stood tall near the river, its branches sprawling like a canopy, the bench beneath it empty, waiting. That bench held so many memories. Our first kiss, our whispered I love yous, our dreams of a house and a garden. It was 2:50 p.m. when I sat down, smoothing my dress, my eyes scanning the park for Leo's familiar figure, his dark hair, his kind eyes. 3:00 p.m. came. No Leo. I told myself he was running late, caught in traffic, delayed by a late train from the city. 3:15, still nothing. The park grew quieter, joggers and dog walkers thinning out, their voices fading. 3:30. A cold wind picked up, rustling the oak's leaves, the sky darkening with heavy clouds. 3:45. Rain began to fall, first a few drops, then a steady drizzle, pattering on my dress, my hair, my skin. People hurried for cover, umbrellas popping open, couples laughing as they ran. But I stayed, my hands clenched in my lap, my eyes fixed, on the path where Leo might appear. He said to meet here. He said he needed to talk. He'd come. 4:01 p.m. The rain was heavier now, soaking through my dress, chilling me to the bone. I shivered, my hope flickering like a candle in a storm. 4:30. The park was nearly empty, just a few stragglers huddled under trees. I was alone on the bench, the oak tree looming above, its branches dripping, its shadow heavy. I checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls. I called Leo. Straight. To voicemail, the sound of a knife in my chest. My stomach twisted, a knot of dread tightening until I could barely breathe. 5:00 p.m. 2 hours past the time. The rain showed no sign of stopping, my dress clinging to my skin, my hair plastered to my face. I was freezing inside and out, but I couldn't move. Not yet. Not while there was still a chance. Finally, at 5:15, I understood. Leo wasn't late. He wasn't stuck somewhere. He wasn't coming. He'd chosen not to show up, chosen to leave me waiting in the rain, alone with my hope, my love, my trust. Tears welled, mixing with the rain on my cheeks, hot against the cold. Why, Leo? Why ask me to meet you? Why make me believe you'd come? Why break your promise? Break my heart? The questions churned, but there were no answers, only the steady drum of rain and the ache in my chest, a pain so deep it felt like part of me was dying. I stood, my legs stiff, my body heavy, and looked at the empty bench one last time. Our bench, where we'd laughed, kissed, dreamed of a future together. Now it was just wet wood, a monument to my heartbreak, a symbol of everything I'd lost. I walked home, the city blurring through my tears, people probably staring at the girl trudging through the downpour in a soaked blue dress, her face streaked with rain and grief. I didn't care. I felt nothing but a vast, hollow coldness, like part of me had been carved out and left behind under that oak tree, washed away by the rain. In my apartment, I stood under a hot shower, the water scalding my skin, trying to wash away the cold, the hurt, the betrayal. But it didn't work. The pain was inside me, a weight I couldn't rinse off, a wound that pulsed with every thought of Leo. He never reached out again. No call, no text, no letter, no trace. He vanished from my life like smoke, taking our plans, our future, our love, leaving only questions that echoed in the silence. Why did he do it? Why ask me to meet him just to abandon me? Was it cruelty? A deliberate twist of the knife? Was it cowardice, an inability to face me? Did he ever love me at all, or was it all a lie? Those questions became my companions, haunting my days, stealing my sleep. Before I tell you how I moved forward, I want to pause and connect with you. Where are you watching this from today? Knowing you're out there, listening to my story, gives me the strength to share something so raw, so painful. Please drop your location in the comments, and if you're comfortable, share a moment when someone let you down, when you waited for something that never came. How did you get through it? Your stories mean so much to me, and I can't wait to read them, to know I'm not alone in this. The weeks after that rainy Friday were the darkest I've ever known. I moved through my days like a ghost, my heart a bruise that throbbed with every beat, my mind a loop of that day. The rain, the empty bench, Leo's text promising a meeting that never happened. The flower shop, once my sanctuary, felt wrong, alien. The colors of the flowers, reds, pinks, yellows, seemed faded, their scents cloying instead of sweet, like a mockery of the joy they once brought. I'd arrange bouquets on autopilot, my hands moving while my thoughts were elsewhere, replaying every moment with Leo, searching for clues I'd missed. Had he been pulling away even before he left? Were his promises empty from the start? The not knowing was a wound that wouldn't close, festering with doubt, anger, and a creeping self-blame. Was I too much? Not enough? Did I love him wrong? Trust him too fully? My boss, Mrs. Peterson, noticed the change in me. She's a kind woman in her 60s, with silver hair pulled into a bun and a smile that feels like a warm blanket. She's run the flower shop for decades, her hands deft, with blooms, her heart open to everyone who walks through the door. "Clara, you're not yourself," she said one morning, her eyes soft with concern, her voice gentle but firm. I managed a weak smile, my throat tight, and mumbled that Leo and I were over. She didn't push, didn't ask for details, but she gave me lighter tasks, watering plants, sweeping the floor, restocking ribbons, letting me move through the days without the weight of expectation. Her kindness was a lifeline, a quiet gesture that kept me tethered when I felt like I was drifting away. Mom was worried sick, her calls coming every evening, her voice laced with fear. "Come stay with me, Clara," she'd plead, her words heavy with love. "Just for a while, let me take care of you." But I couldn't. My apartment, small and cluttered with its sagging couch and crowded bookshelves, felt like the only place I could fall apart without eyes on me, without having to explain the pain I couldn't put into words. I'd sit there for hours, staring at the walls, replaying every moment with Leo, every smile, every touch, every promise. Had I missed something? Was there a moment when I could have seen it coming? Could have saved myself? The questions were relentless, each one a needle in my heart, piercing deeper with every loop. Maya, my best friend, tried to pull me out of the fog. She'd show up at my apartment with takeout, greasy burgers or spicy noodles, her loud laugh, filling the silence, her presence a burst of light in my dim world. She'd drag me to the cafe, order us tea, and talk about anything: her job, the guy she was crushing on, the ridiculous reality show she was obsessed with. "He's not worth your tears, Clara," she'd say, her eyes fierce, her hand squeezing mine. "You're too good for someone who'd do this to you." I'd nod, wanting to believe her, but her words felt like they were meant for someone else, someone stronger. How do you forget someone who was your world? How do you let go of a love you thought was forever? The pain was a tide, pulling me under, and I didn't know how to swim to shore. The hardest part was the silence, Leo's silence. If he'd explained, even if it hurt, I might have found a way to understand, to close the chapter, to move on. But his silence was a void, a black hole that swallowed every certainty I'd had about him, about us, about myself. It left space for doubt to grow, not just about him, but about me. Was I unlovable? Had I been a fool to believe in him? To trust him so completely? To wait so long in the rain? Those thoughts were poison, seeping into every corner of my mind, making me question my worth, my choices, my heart. I'd look in the mirror and see a stranger, a girl who'd been naive, who'd given her heart to someone who threw it away. The self-doubt was as painful as the heartbreak, a double wound that left me raw. One rainy afternoon, weeks later, I found myself walking to the park, drawn to the oak tree, to our bench, like a moth to a flame. I don't know why I went. Maybe I needed to face the place where my hope had died, to confront the pain head-on. The bench was empty, slick with rain, the oak's branches swaying in the wind, their leaves whispering secrets I'd never know. I sat down, closing my eyes, letting the rain soak my coat, my hair, my skin. I remembered that Friday, the cold, the rain, the slow death of my belief in Leo, the moment I realized he wasn't coming. The pain was still there, sharp and raw, a knife in my chest. But beneath it, something new stirred, a quiet, steady anger, a fire I hadn't known I could feel. Anger at Leo for his cowardice, for making promises he didn't keep, for leaving me to drown in questions. Anger at myself, too, for holding on so long, for sitting in the rain when I should have walked away, for letting his absence define me. That anger wasn't just pain, it was power. It was a spark, a reminder that I was still here, still alive, still capable of feeling something other than hurt. Sitting on that bench, rain dripping down my face, I made a choice. I wouldn't let Leo's betrayal be the end of my story. I wouldn't let his silence erase me. I was Clara, and I deserved more than waiting for someone who didn't show up, more than a heart broken by someone too weak to face me. I stood up, the rain still falling, and walked away from the bench, from the oak tree, from the girl who'd waited. I walked toward something new, something mine. I started small, focusing on myself, on the pieces of me I'd neglected in the haze of love and loss. I threw myself into work at the flower shop, not just arranging bouquets, but learning the business side, ordering stock, managing accounts, talking to suppliers. Mrs. Peterson was patient, her hands steady as she showed me how to negotiate prices, how to keep the books balanced, how to charm the grumpiest delivery drivers. It was challenging, a puzzle that demanded my focus, and it gave me purpose, a reason to get out of bed each morning. The shop began to feel like mine again, its colors brightening, its scents welcoming me back, like a friend who'd been waiting for me to return. I picked up my books again, but I set aside the romances that had once been my escape. Instead, I read stories of women who faced impossible odds, who rebuilt themselves after loss, who found strength in their own hearts. Their courage seeped into me, a slow but steady infusion, reminding me that I wasn't alone, that pain was universal, but so was healing. I'd read late into the night, my apartment lit by a single lamp, the pages a bridge back to myself, a reminder that I could be the heroine of my own story, not just a side character in someone else's. Maya became my rock, my lighthouse in the storm. We'd meet for coffee or go to the movies, her laughter pulling me out of my head, her presence a reminder that life could still be light. She didn't push me to talk about Leo, sensing when I needed silence and when I needed to spill everything. One night, over pizza in my apartment, I told her the whole story, the rain, the bench, the text that broke me. She listened, her eyes soft, her usual bravado quiet. When I finished, she hugged me tight, her arms fierce. "You're stronger than you know, Clara," she said, her voice steady. "You're going to be okay, I promise." For the first time, I believed her, felt the truth of her words settle in my bones. I also rediscovered my art, a passion I'd left behind in childhood. As a kid, I'd loved drawing, filling sketch pads with flowers, landscapes, dreams, worlds. I created with pencils and paper, But I'd stopped in my teens, life and school and work crowding it out. Now I bought a new sketch pad and a set of pencils, sitting by my apartment window to draw the world outside, rain streaking the glass, the city's glow at dusk, the flowers I loved. Drawing became my therapy, a way to pour out the sadness, the anger, the confusion that swirled inside me. I'd sketch the roses from the shop, their petals curling like secrets, or the oak tree, its branches heavy with memory, its roots deep in the earth. Each line was a release, a way to process the pain, to reclaim my voice, to tell my story without words. One day, Mrs. Peterson saw my sketches, left open on the shop counter during a quiet moment. "Clara, these are beautiful," she said, her eyes wide, her voice full of awe. "Have you ever thought about showing them to anyone?" I blushed, shaking my head, my art always a private thing, a piece of me I kept hidden. But she was insistent, her enthusiasm infectious. She asked if I'd draw some flower arrangements for the shop's website, something to make it stand out, to draw in new customers. I was nervous. My sketches had never been for anyone but me, but I said yes, wanting to try, to step out of the shadows. I spent weeks on those drawings, perfecting every petal, every leaf, every curve of a stem. When I showed them to her, she beamed, her smile brighter than the sun. "These are perfect, Clara," she said. "You're so talented, you have no idea." She uploaded them to the website, and customers started commenting, asking who the artist was, praising the delicate lines, the vibrant colors. Seeing my work out there, appreciated, was a spark of joy I hadn't felt in months, a small victory that felt like a piece of me was healing. Slowly, my life began to shift, like a garden waking up after a long winter. The pain of Leo's absence didn't vanish. It was a scar, etched into my heart, a reminder of what I'd lost, but it no longer ruled me. I started smiling again, real smiles that reached my eyes that came from a place of genuine warmth. I laughed with Maya, our banter filling the cafe with lightness. I teased Mrs. Peterson about her love for cheesy old songs, her laughter echoing through the shop. I felt the sun's warmth on my face without wincing, let the city's energy lift me instead of overwhelm me. I was finding Clara again, not the Clara who waited in the rain, but a stronger version, one who knew her worth, who knew she could survive the worst kind of hurt. 2 years have passed since that rainy Friday under the oak tree. I'm still at the flower shop, but now I run more of the show, ordering stock, designing displays, even training a new hire, a shy teenager who reminds me of myself at that age. Mrs. Peterson trusts me, and that trust has built my confidence, made me believe in my own abilities. My drawings have found a small audience online. I sell prints on a website Maya helped me set up, a simple page that showcases my roses, lilies, and cityscapes. It's not a fortune, but every sale feels like a triumph, a piece of me shared with the world, a reminder that I have something to offer. My apartment is my haven, filled with books, plants, and sketches pinned to the walls, a cozy space that reflects who I am now, someone who's been broken but is whole again in a new way. I think of Leo sometimes, but not often, and when I do, it's like recalling a sad movie, a story that moved me but doesn't own me anymore. I'll never know why he did what he did, why he asked me to meet him, why he left me waiting in the rain, why he disappeared without a word. Maybe he was scared, overwhelmed by the weight of our dreams. Maybe he met someone else, someone who fit his life better. Maybe he was too weak to face me, to tell me the truth. His reasons don't matter anymore. Not really. What matters is what I chose to do with the pieces he left behind. How I chose to rebuild, to grow, to find joy again. Here's the truth. I learned the one I want to share with you, the one I wish I could shout to every heart that's hurting. You can't control what other people do. You can't make someone love you, keep their promises, or show up when they say they will. Sometimes people leave without a word, without an explanation, and it hurts. God, it hurts, like a theft of everything you believed in, everything you held dear. It feels unfair, cruel, like the world has betrayed you. But you have power, even in that pain, even in the rain. You can choose to stay broken, to let their absence define you, to let their silence drown you. Or you can choose to stand up, to heal, to find the strength that's been inside you all along, waiting for you to claim it. You can choose to walk away from the waiting, from the bench, from the rain, and build a life that's yours, filled with joy you create, with love you give yourself. If you're out there right now, waiting for someone who hasn't shown up, feeling lost or heartbroken, please hear this. Your worth doesn't depend on them, on their presence, their promises, their love. You are enough, just as you are, with your scars, your doubts, your dreams. Be gentle with yourself. Let the pain come. Let it wash over you. But don't let it stay. Find the small things that light you up. A book that pulls you in, a song that makes you dance, a friend's laugh that warms you, a flower's scent that reminds you of beauty. Hold on to those things. Let them guide you back to yourself, step by step. The rain will stop, the sun will shine again, and you'll be stronger for it. I promise you that. Thank you for listening to my story, for sitting with me through the rain, the heartbreak, and the healing. It's a long one, I know, but sharing it feels like letting go of the last pieces of that pain, like setting down a weight I've carried too long. If this resonated with you, if it touched your heart or reminded you of your own journey, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who might need it, and subscribe. I'd love to have you along for more stories, more moments of truth. In the comments, tell me, where are you watching from today? Have you ever waited for someone who let you down, who left you with questions and no answers? How did you find your way back to yourself? Your stories are so powerful, they inspire me, and I can't wait to read them, to know I'm not alone in this. Until next time, keep walking toward your own light. No matter how dark the storm feels, you're stronger than you know, and you've got this.